Okay, some people asked me about the actual process of meal planning, so I thought I would go over that first. The things that I wanted to be mindful of were budget and time. I have a 3.5-year-old and a 7-month-old, so my time is very precious. You've seen my goals about carbs and all that stuff. I can't cut out carbs completely because I'm breastfeeding, and I also have a 3-year-old, so he needs some carbs too. So I wanted to keep that in mind as I was making meals. And then also I wanted to just kind of get a view of the month and see what was going on. We have the Super Bowl at the beginning of February, which will come into the last week, the last shopping week, so I made sure that I put that on my list. Okay, so then for budget-wise, I wanted to make sure that I had a cheap, a cheap category. So these are some of the cheap meals that I had: leftovers, breakfasts, rollover meals like quesadillas. I'm going to make a roast, which is going to roll over into quesadillas. And depending on how big I make the roast, or how big I buy the roast, it could roll over into even another meal, maybe nachos or beef tips over noodles with vegetables or something like that. And then breakfast is a good cheap meal. The stuffed shells is a freezer meal. I'm actually making that for dinner today, and I'll freeze the other half of it and then be able to pull that out later in the month. So then another thing that I wanted to do was, because of my time, I wanted to make sure that I had crock pot meals. And when I say crock pot meals, I mean meals that go in the crock pot almost like they are and cook all day, so that I don't have to brown the meat and all that stuff beforehand. So that's pretty much what I did, with the exception of what would have been pizza soup. But I do have a frozen bag of turkey Italian sausage and ground turkey in the freezer that I'll pop out for that. That's another good time saver. Anytime you're making browned meats or even baking chicken, just go ahead and make extra and then put it in the fridge. It takes less time, and usually you can get a better deal on a bulk package of meat versus individual portions, or smaller portions. So that's what I did with the crock pot meals. And then seafood, I already talked to you guys about that. Meatless is a way not only for better health, but also as a way to watch our budget, because meat is usually the most expensive items on our grocery list. Hold on, buddy. Hold on. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. So then some of the other ways that I save time and money is by doing what I call base meals, meals that can roll over into other things. Beer can chicken. Instead of buying one, I can buy two and cook two that day and just debone the second one and pull that out for another meal, such as the Ritz chicken casserole. And that will be more than enough for one meal. I'll have extra chicken left over that can go into another meal later on. The tacos, like I said, anytime I buy ground meat, I buy extra so that I can just go ahead and cook it at the same time and freeze the other half. And that's going to go into a taco pasta. And that could go into burritos, nachos, taco pizzas, etc. So let's see. So meatloaf is another thing that kind of saves me time. I don't have to stand over the stove while I'm cooking. I can make extra of it. I can either make extra to roll into another meal that week, or I can make extra to freeze an extra loaf for another meal during the month. And so those are some of the considerations that I had. So I just started plugging in those things and then kind of filled them in as I went. One thing I did notice, because I'm doing these monthly meal planning to watch my carbs, I could get a really good view. Hold on. I could get a really good view of how many carbs I was taking in. And this was an example of a meal that I swapped out because I had entirely too many carbs. Even though I'm using low GIs or whole grain, it was still too many carbs for the week. So I ended up taking out some couscous meal here and put in chicken gumbo, which is virtually no carbs. And then I also had potatoes with the roast to begin with, and I took out potatoes and put in cabbage. Now I'll cook the cabbage separately because that's something that I can't eat breastfeeding. It messes with the baby. So, and then I'm taking some help from the freezer section. In the store, I'm going to buy the frozen Parmesan tilapia. Sam's and Walmart has it. It's really good. It's pretty low on carbs, and it helps us get more fish in because it's good and all of us will eat it. I think hopefully that'll give you a better idea of how to actually plan the meals. And then a lot of this I did by what I had in the freezer, like the extra taco meat, the extra Italian sausage meat that was already cooked. So if you guys have any more questions, let me know. I will be making videos much shorter than the ones that I'm used to when I'm cooking. Like when I make my spaghetti sauce, I'll just do like maybe a quick 3-minute video on what's in it and how I cook it. So if you have any questions, let me know.